Over 100 civil society organizations, CSOs, are operating in Trinidad and Tobago, doing their part to protect their communities and the natural environment. CSOs have a very important role to play in the achievement of national environmental goals, as well as the objectives of the Multilateral Environmental Agreements, MEAs. CSOs provide a valuable link between policy and the on-the-ground work to effect meaningful progress in the fight to protect our natural environment. They work on a wide range of environmental issues, such as biodiversity conservation, environmental education, climate change and disaster risk reduction, ecotourism, waste management including recycling, and sustainable agriculture. The Caribbean Natural Resources Institute, CANARI, is one such entity. CANARI is a non-profit technical institute dedicated to preserving the natural environment throughout the Caribbean. They are one of the many CSOs doing work with stakeholders from different sectors, including rural community groups, academic institutions, private and public sector, as well as other non-governmental organizations, to safeguard and protect our natural environment. Nicole Leotaud, Executive Director and Managing Partner, talks about the role civil society plays in supporting environmental stewardship and meeting the objectives of government's multilateral environmental agreements.
A recent survey for the Ministry of Planning and Development and found over 125 civil society organizations are actively working on supporting delivery of the multilateral environmental agreements. So in a variety of areas. And the kinds of roles they're playing, they're actually delivering results and change on the ground in a really meaningful way that's actually addressing needs of the most vulnerable people and priority needs. So this is one of the critical roles that they are playing.
Ms. Leotaud provides some examples of the type of work taking place with biodiversity and climate change to support meeting the obligations under the MEAs.
CANARI has been doing work to help them understand how they can sustainably use nature and biodiversity, and also contribute to protecting it. So this is one of the small areas of work that really civil society in Trinidad and Tobago is doing a lot on. A second example is under the climate change agreement, the global. Of course, climate change is very important to everyone. And civil society organizations really play a key role in delivering that local response to climate change. Climate change cannot only be addressed at international meetings. We have to change what we do every day. And so CANARI works with local communities to do what we call community-based and nature-based adaptation to climate change. So for example, we've done a lot of work on the ground with communities, helping them to say, okay, well, how is climate change going to affect me and my community? And to create things like maps and videos, really analyzing what are the impacts going to be, and therefore, how do they need to respond, and what do they need to ask government and other partners to do in response.
The partnerships, Ms. Leotaud says, are essential if the country is to contribute significantly to ensuring our resources are sustainably used.
Really change our thinking that it's all up to government. And government does it, and it's government control. We really need to embrace more collaborative approaches with civil society organizations, including at the local level. Not just consulting them, but working with them as partners, allocating them roles in the solutions. You know, how can we solve climate change? How can we protect our biodiversity? How can we deal with pollution? Civil society organizations on the ground have the answers. And one exciting thing to mention, I think, is work CANARI did with 20 leading civil society organizations who work across sectors in the country. And we worked with them to look at how can civil society help to deliver these sustainable development goals, which of course are another global agreement that actually bring together all of the multilateral environmental agreements into one package with a bunch of other important global issues like poverty and health and so on. And we really looked at how can we catalyze action and support the government on delivery of this. And the Ministry of Planning and Development, I think, was very excited and kind of welcomed this initiative to see, well, how can civil society partner with government to deliver sustainable development in the country? So I really just would like to encourage people to recognize the important role that civil society plays and how can they get more support to do an even bigger job.
For up-to-date information on environmental issues and activities in TNT, please join our Focal Point network by completing the Google form found on the Environmental Policy and Planning Division's Facebook and Instagram pages.